Good morning. And you see I remembered the lapel mic today. Sorry for how quiet yesterday's video was, but I'm still getting used to doing this YouTube thing and remembering all the pieces. Today's video is exactly what it was titled: Witchcraft and Hot Button Topics. We're going to be talking about why they're not going to be here. At least the hot button topics. I am a pagan practitioner. I am a practicing witch. And that is not everybody's cup of tea. If I were to include that in the homesteading vlogs, I do have a concern that it would mean to take longer to find the people who would enjoy my channel. Is my mic plugged in all the way? Yeah, it is. Okay. But to not sometimes have my witchcraft show through feels like I have sterilized a part of who I am for the channel. I'm still debating how to approach it with some elegance and grace. We'll put a pin in that and come back to it, actually. Hot button topics. I have been pissing off everybody in every single community that you can think of for a couple decades now. I'm bisexual. That pisses off a great number of people. I'm married to a man that pisses off the rest of the community. I don't care. Finding a woman that I could spend serious time with, there just wasn't anybody that I clicked with for very long. I still have a couple of ladies that I love dearly, but they're my friends. They are not romantic interests anymore. I'm a practicing witch. I'm a practicing pagan. I don't do witchcraft the way a lot of these witches might prefer that I do witchcraft. I do not believe in the threefold rule. That feels like a Christian concept that was brought into magical traditions as a way of helping Christians who had shed their Christian heritage to feel more comfortable, to feel that there was still a boundary, a known boundary that they shouldn't cross. Because of being a practicing witch, that's put me into odds with the LGBT community. That's put me at odds with the monotheistic communities. I have been at odds with a large chunk of the pagan community for a variety of reasons. Among them being, I am a firm gun rights supporter. I do not believe that they should be restricted. I believe it is every person's choice as to whether or not they should carry a firearm. I am an ardent supporter of personal choice. And yes, that includes the nasty little thing that's been floating around recently. I do not believe in medical mandates. I do not believe in there only being one way to do witchcraft. Because of being an ardent supporter of personal choice and gun rights, I have gotten death threats from everybody 200 ways from Sunday. I have gotten death threats from the LGBT community. I've gotten death threats from the Christian community. I've gotten death threats from the witchcraft community. I have done a lot of work over the past couple years to 10 years to make myself bulletproof. Pun intended. part of that has been when someone says, well, I don't like witchcraft. Okay, I don't care. You do you, boo. But I'm going to keep practicing and keep pumpkin. With it coming up on Halloween, it does get even more interesting. Rural America is hodgepodge everywhere you go of what you might find. You'll find Mormons, you'll find Baptists, you'll find Methodists, Presbyterians. Here in my county, there is a Mormon presence, but it's not a big Mormon presence. There's a Baptist presence, and I do think there's a Presbyterian presence as well. But there's a lot of smaller churches where people were just not getting their spiritual needs met by the bigger churches. So they came together in kind of a one church denomination sect. There's a church in my county called Cowboy Church. And it's about what you would expect. But they do a lot of work for the youth in their church. More work than what I have seen in a lot of other big churches. Like there's actual active events. There's a boys group and there's a girls group, and sometimes they'll get together and do events together, but other times the girls are off doing their own thing and the guys are off doing their own thing. Here not too long ago, they spent an entire weekend going caving. So, and a lot of the girls are apparently very high ranked in, I had a hiccup there. That's what happened. A lot of the girls are very highly ranked in 4-H. In a lot of areas, it's not uncommon in areas like this to have a bit more of a delineation between what a person is good at and what they're not good at. But out here, I'm pretty certain I could find some other pagans. But most of us out here in areas like this like to keep to ourselves. We don't want to step on toes. In Arizona, there is a lot of ancient history. And I do mean a lot. Not just the Native Americans. There's a geological history that extends millions upon millions of years. And I've always been a bit of a geology geek, a geo geek. And because of being a practicing witch, the times where we've gone hiking into a lot of these canyons and the rivers have cut through these layers, it's hard not to feel the echoes of the sheer amount of raw earth power in those eruptions. And you end up feeling pretty small. Not gonna lie. But there's nothing wrong with that. When I've got the windows open and the cats start meowing about stuff, it echoes weird in the house, which creates for some interesting recording situations. For a very long time, my witchcraft was the bare minimum. It was, I would light a candle, pause for a few moments, maybe light a stick of incense, and then just do what I could about my day. For about 1.5 years, we lived in Los Angeles when I first moved in with my husband. That city is loud. It's loud at night. And we got lucky. We lived in one of the most quiet areas of LA called Tahunga. but it was still loud. In Phoenix, the first apartment was nice. The house where we spent about 4 years, the 202 was in my backyard. You had the 202, a drainage ditch, retaining wall, my house. It was a cacophony all the time. And I didn't notice until we moved here, where it was quiet all of the time, that I was in auditory overload a lot of the time. I would get up, I would turn the music on my computer because I couldn't open the windows. And I would turn the music on to try to drown out outside. Because we were right at a junction to another major highway. That was the 51. The off-ramp on the 202 to the 51 was right there. It was pretty frequent hearing wrecks. I was never able to adapt to being a city witch. I just couldn't do it. It was stifling. And I hadn't realized that I had a lot of trauma attached to my witchcraft. I had one ex that was always annoyed when I would be doing anything besides sitting on the couch and waiting for him to tell me what he needed. This included witchcraft. He did everything he could to make me feel isolated. And anytime I would go to a convention or I would go ghost hunting with my old ghost hunting group, I would get punished. And we're not going to go into those details. That would get this video rated R. The young man I was involved with after him tried to choke me to death one night. Because I had the audacity to leave a lit candle around him. When we got first moved here, the first 2 weeks were spent decompressing auditory-wise. Like, my ears rang constantly to the point I could not get much sleep. My husband, who was a former active duty Marine of 8 years, had the same problem. Although now his ears have adjusted a little bit to out here, which I think has actually made his tinnitus just a little bit better because his ears are having a chance to heal because there's not all that noise. I don't know if that actually works that way, but and then there was several weeks of just getting a feel for the property of what I wanted from my studio here, which has a little corner right over in that direction. And then I started being able to do my craft again. And it wasn't limited to just yarn over, hook, pull through loop. I was getting to do, I found myself doing real magic and not flinching. My husband doesn't care. He just doesn't. And that helps. He's a firearms enthusiast like me, so whenever we beat the bounds, we usually bring one or two of our favorite guns with us. I've gotten to the point where I prefer carrying one of the pistols just because it's easier to maneuver through some of the desert jungle that we have on the back 7 now. We made the mistake of letting that grow up so thick. I think one of the main reasons why I suddenly find myself more in tune with my craft again is because I'm no longer in a choking city. I'm in an area where I can feel the turning of the seasons. I can feel the coming and going of monsoon season. It actually gets cold at night. So, like this morning, got up, got my coffee made, opened all the windows wide, because the cranes are in one of the cornfields that's like less than half a mile from us. It looks like they usually rest for a couple of hours and then they take off again. That doesn't sound like the entire flock taking off. It sounds like a few small ones coming into land to rest. Once my husband gets back from his trip, we'll sneak over, see if we can't get some closer pictures of them, see how close we can get before they take off. When I say it's a massive flock, I mean these are flocks of hundreds of birds. And I want to go over there right now, but I'm not going to. I'm going to save that experience to have with Dave when he gets back. Going back to the hot button topics, there are hundreds of thousands of channels out there that talk about that stuff. So if you come here looking for it, you're going to be disappointed. My channel is meant to be a break. And if you can't take a break from a hot button issue for a little while and rest, you're part of the problem. We, as a species, as individuals, as humans, we're not wired to be outraged 100% of the time, 24/7, 365 days a year. And frankly, my voice represents me. That's it. No one else needs my voice. Because if I'm speaking for them, doesn't that mean I'm speaking over them? But you're going to find that things like that in politics are going to be staying off the channel. Don't you dare sneeze. Don't you dare call that a cute sneeze in the comments either. It was not cute. But I'm still trying, like I said, I'm still trying to figure out how to gently balance and approach with some elegance and grace my spiritual practice. Because it will pop up. You know, I have a jar of frozen monsoon water that when I'm ready to start planting seeds for the seedlings for next year, I'm going to be using as the first watering. I've been finding feathers left and right. Feathers sometimes are important in the craft. Most of the time I actually use them for honest to God craft projects like dream catchers or just quirky little Christmas decorations. Something to that effect. So, I wonder if when we walk over, if we'll be able to find some crane feathers. That would be really cool. Oh, that would be so cool. But Oh, whenever you find this video, be it a couple years in the future or you find it today, you can tell them I'm struggling to figure out how to approach it. I had the idea of once a season uploading a video, strictly about with my craft. Then I had another idea about why not just do it gently here and there. You know, sometimes show lighting a stick of incense, or sometimes show lighting one of your candles. Maybe talk about some of your workings after they're over. I just don't know. All right, I've kept you long enough today. Thanks for stopping by and sharing your time with me. Feel free to give me some input. And I hope you decide to stick around. Until next time.